ahead here on World Crisis Radio. We're developing the pattern of events that has marked now the first 2 weeks of the new year. December 31st, the body of John P. Wheeler III, formerly top official of the Pentagon, especially the U.S. Air Force, working with Secretary of the Air Force Michael Wynne and the military head of the Air Force Chief of Staff, a guy who would have been up to his neck in the rogue B-52 case of September 2007, body found in a landfill southeast of Wilmington, Delaware. January 6th, 2 letters, one to Martin O'Malley, the governor of Maryland, and another one addressed to the Secretary of Transportation Secretary Beverly K. Swaim Staley. Got one of these letters sent to her office. So 2 incendiary letters that flashed, smoked, burned, and produced a stench. Not really mail bombs, but close enough. Inexplicably, the Washington Post, usually interested in all events like this in the national capital area, they put this on the Metro page. Incendiary parcels alarm Maryland. 2 ignite at state offices, 1 sent to O'Malley. Again, and this caused quite a stir. You know, the letter bomb syndrome was revived here. What is notable about O'Malley, right? O'Malley's probably the most successful Democratic governor of all the Democratic governors who got elected or reelected in this case. He probably did it more authoritatively than just about any of them. But the big thing with O'Malley is that he had written a letter to the Maryland State Judiciary saying, we got to slow down on these fraud closures. I want you to do whatever is necessary to make sure that the details of the individual foreclosure are actually legal, right? That there's no perjury, that there's no robo-signing, that we don't have, dead people signing the paperwork, as we found out that the various banks were using. So this is a chilling warning, I think, to local officials, right? That they know where you live too. Again, put it in context. Now, January 8th, we have the Tucson shooting, and the details of this are so well known that I don't really need to say too much about it, except for the fact that the initial news reports talk about 3 individuals, not 1, not 2, but 3. And as usual, what has happened in this is that the 3rd individual has disappeared, expunged, sanitized from the narrative. The 2nd individual has been defined as the taxi driver who brought him there. The existence of the 2nd and possibly the 3rd had been revealed by Sheriff Dupnik in his press conference immediately and had to be acknowledged then by FBI Director Robert Mueller. You see, what happened was that Robert Mueller immediately rushed to Tucson to take over the investigation, meaning, given the track record of this individual from 9/11, to take over the cover-up of these events. So that's January 8th, and that, of course, is the huge furor. But again, what interests us are not the details so much as the pattern, horrific as this event is. And, of course, political assassinations have got to be condemned, and we hereby condemn them, no doubt about that. January 10th, Tom the Hammer DeLay he's been convicted, but he gets a 3-year sentence. And here we have the Washington Post of Tuesday, January 11th. The big headline, Lochner appears in federal court. Obviously, Lochner, disturbed individual, well-known, would have been easy for various kinds of mind controllers, MK Ultra people to get close to him, to approach him, and to manipulate him, to prod him into doing all sorts of things, right? Sort of on the model of John Hinckley. But right next to this, DeLay sentenced to 3 years in prison. And it's not just 3 years in prison, it's 3 years in prison plus 10 years of community service in lieu of 10 more years in the clink. So that could have been 13 years. Not 13, sorry, 8. The judge sentenced DeLay to 5 years in prison on a separate felony conviction of money laundering, but agreed to let him serve 10 years of community service. So 3 years in jail, 10 years of community service, and if you do anything we don't like, then you're going to get 3 years in jail plus 5 years in jail equals 8 years in jail. Now, you remember, this was the most powerful reactionary in Washington. This was a brutal thug, needless to say. Tom the Hammer with the K Street Project, distributing checks, making threats, and distributing money on the floor of the House. This was a flagrant disregard of the laws. But again, that's not what gets you put in jail. You get put in jail when it's convenient for the invisible government to put you there. In a case like this, it's also interesting. The judge demanded that he go to jail immediately, right? State Senior Judge Pat Priest down there in Austin, Texas, says, listen, you're going straight to jail. Now, they sprung him later on. His lawyer was over there with a $10,000 bond, so he's out on bail now. But you can see the idea was to make a bit of a show of this. And, of course, you can say, well, in an abstract form, he deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it. But this is not the point. The point is that who is this designed to chill? Well, take somebody like Boehner. Boehner knew DeLay. You can look at all these leaders, right? Cantor, Boehner, all these people. They knew Tom DeLay. They worked with Tom DeLay. They were part of Tom DeLay's operations. Maybe they had their fingers in some of these different pies. Who knows? But the fact is that is going to chill these Republicans in the House. Now, the Republicans in the House had been planning a 20-day circus of reactionary legislation that they were supposed to start this past week. Their entire 20-day program has been knocked on its ear by the events in Tucson and these other events. So we can assume that the delay sentencing reminds these people in the House of Representatives that, the FBI has their number and they can be sent up the river pretty much at any time, right? And the big thing with Tom DeLay is the peripeteia, right? The fall from the top reactionary Republican in Washington, right? Hastert was his puppet. Tom DeLay, the Hammer, he made all the decisions. He was the legislative dictator of the House and to some degree of Capitol Hill. And now 3 years in jail. So this chills the usual process for these people. And again, the House leaders that are now coming in all worked with Tom DeLay, worked with him or against him, whatever it is. So that was the 10th of January. On the same day, another really strange incident. This is a lobbyist by the name of Ashley W. Turton. She worked for Bracewell and Giuliani, the lobbying firm of former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Ashley W. Turton, 37, she was a lobbyist for energy companies in North Carolina. Let's see the exact details on that. She's working for this Progress Energy of North Carolina. She was trying to get to work early that Monday morning in order to field questions from journalists about the coming merger, the acquisition of Progress Energy of North Carolina with Duke Energy. And she never made it out of her garage. The Washington Post, again, on the Metro page, not on the national front page. Washington Post headline on the Metro page, Tuesday, January 11th, lobbyist found dead at home. Vehicle caught fire in garage. D.C. woman was married to White House aide, and this is the big thing. The victim is Ashley Turton. She's got a BMW X5, but she couldn't get out of the garage. She ran, the car is pictured run up against the side of the garage, and the police say that it was a low-speed crash in the interior of the garage which led to a fire which consumed the car and killed her. This is basically at the very limits of physical impossibility, let us say. Back in a minute.